All right, welcome out to our weekly mastermind. Today's mastermind, this is August 31st. We're going to be doing a mastermind on, this is actually a conversation that I had with actually Vicki Stansbury a while ago. And when I was talking to her, she said something really fascinating to me. Now, just so you know, Vicki is a silver in doTERRA. And she said to me, she goes, you know, Seth, the thing I wish the most was that I had done this 20 years ago. Now, Vicki's a grandma now, today, and she goes, and then she mentioned how great it was, the personal development that she had experienced as being a part of doTERRA, just in the process of doing this, the different type of person that she became in the process, and how she wished that this had been 20 years ago in her life when when she could have had this type of growth. She wished it would have happened earlier. And that kind of got me thinking about some of the benefits of building a doTERRA business that are not tied to the financial benefit, and not even tied to the oil, right? So if you took out the money and you took out the benefits of having oils in your home, what are the other forms of payment that you receive as a result of building a doTERRA business? And so I'm going to actually, I see that Vicki's actually on the call. I'm going to mute her line and ask you a few questions. Hopefully that's okay with you, Vicki. All right, Vicki, you were the one that inspired this particular topic. And what I wanted to ask, let me make sure I've unmuted your line here. Should be unmuted. All right. Are you there, Vicki?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. So my question for you is, and this is my question for the mastermind as well. So if you have a comment on this, and I don't really care what rank you are, but what is some of the growth that you've seen that was so valuable to you in doing this?
Okay, number one, personally, I started this 2 years ago, and I wish I had started before because the confidence that I have in myself now is so much different. I mean, I could never get up and talk in front of anybody or talk to people in the store or do anything like that. And it is just, and, it even has helped in my marriage because I'm more confident about so many different things. And that's just, hold on. Thank you. I might take away. Anyway, but, and that has just helped me in the ways that I wish I could have helped myself like 20 years ago.
Yeah. So would you mind if you got a little bit more specific? So for example, how did it help you? Well, let me actually start with this. What about just being able to get up and speak in front of a group? That's something that would you say that you struggled with that before?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you what else helped with it was bergamot and vetiver. I can remember the very first class that I did. I thought, well, of course I hit the bathroom a few times. I had no idea what I was doing. And I guess even then I had confidence in the oils because I had been using them for so long that this person enrolled. I don't know why, but they did. But then after you came out and I saw you do a class, and then I heard someplace on Mastermind or something about bergamot and vetiver. So before I did a class for a long time, I would just make sure I took a little drop of vetiver and a little drop of bergamot. And, with the oils giving me that confidence, then I saw what I could do, and that gave me more confidence.
Right.
So
you mentioned that it helped in your marriage as well, with just giving you more confidence in your marriage. Would you mind sharing in what ways did it help in that regard?
Well, I've always been kind of a timid person and not totally standing up for myself. And, you know, and I have a good husband. He's a wonderful person. But, you know, in your marriage, sometimes you do have to stand up for yourself and speak what you feel and not just go along with the flow. And that has helped me that way, too. And it has made us both happier.
Right. No, that's fantastic. Okay, so thank you, Vicki. That's exactly what I was looking for. The question to the mastermind, and this is for everybody, but that is, what kind of, if you took out the money, right? So let's remove the money side of doTERRA altogether. What kind of payment have you received in the type of person you've become? Because I think that sometimes we don't understand that is actually the greater value between, you know, if you were to say, would I take the paycheck or would I take the personal development that I've experienced, that I would take the personal development by far, because the person it helps you become can reproduce that kind of income anyway. Janet Marquez, how has doing the business impacted who you are?
Oh, my goodness, Seth, this is the best topic you could have ever done today. This is so right on, because, I mean, you know, when I first started doTERRA, I thought that all my problems were because of money. I thought that if we just had enough money, all of these problems would be fixed. My problems in my marriage, my problems as a mom, my problems with who I thought my identity problems that I was having, all I could do is so easy to blame it all on money and say, well, if we just had more money, we wouldn't fight so much, or at least we wouldn't have to work so much, or, you know, just the way that people talk, because we love as a human society to feel like we have no choices and we have no control over the hard things that have been in our lives. And to be honest, I really did believe that. I've been passed down for so many generations that I finally was to a point where I was like, I am ready to be happy. I am ready to take control of my life. And in doing so, because I felt like my problem was money, I went 100% in this, very motivated by money, very, very motivated by money. Every time I got a paycheck, every time I felt good, I felt value, I felt all of these things, you know, and I saw things changing. I saw myself, you know, that's the wonderful thing about it. You said, you know, I saw myself being more kind. I saw myself being more, you know, rising up as a leader, being a better mom in my home, being more tolerant to my spouse, and it actually saved our marriage. If anybody knows our story, we were separated during the time I started doing doTERRA, but because in building a team, you have to learn how to look at yourself and stop blaming everything around you. It did the same thing in all aspects of my life, as a mother, as a wife, as a friend, as a person, which then actually helped me to take complete control to when, no matter what happens, ups or downs financially, because they happen. You never, you know, even the Donald Trumps of the world have ups and downs in their businesses, and they have to get creative and see, you're never just set. You're never just set, or else you die. So you're going to have ups and downs in your life and in your business. But what I've learned and come to experience is that there is a level of joy and peace that you are meant to have all the freaking time, no matter what's happening in your bank account, with your friends, with your family, with your home. And you can turn to that peace, and you can turn to that truth and receive whatever you're supposed to learn from all experiences. And you don't need to blame anything else outside of you. How liberating is that? And I would not trade that for all the money in the world. And I learned that through engaging in this experience 100%.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing from you is that what the payment that you've received that's not monetary in building a doTERRA business is you learned how to not be a victim to like that you weren't a victim and life was happening to you, but that you could actually change all of that. Like like for example, and I'm going to say this with some hesitancy because I don't want people, with the exception, there are some rare exceptions to this where people are a victim of abuse or are a victim of, we could even say some illnesses and things like that they did not bring upon themselves at all. However, for the most part, it is extremely liberating when you actually realize, oh my word, my struggles are because of me. And when you actually take that ownership, then it's extraordinarily liberating because nobody wants to know that they are the source of their own problems. No one wants to hear it. Nobody wants to accept it. And we want to blame everything else. But just having the ability to say, actually, I have something to do with all of this, it's extremely liberating. And
Seth,
is that what you learned?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But I'm also going to reach as far as sicknesses and abuse as well, because all things in this life can be overcome. All things in this life are meant to be overcome, and they're meant to bring us joy and teach us different lessons. And I have met some of the most powerful, amazing people who have dealt with sicknesses and abuse and things that even then you're like, what? You know, how could I have possibly brought this on myself? But they're able to find it in themselves on how that was able to come to them and be able to change their mindset, change their thinking to where even in this abuse and the sickness, they can still peace and they can realize how it's their greatest gift and move forward and change the whole world by viewing it that way. Like, and I see what you're saying in the fact that of course they didn't like go searching for that or like do some terrible thing that made that happen to them. But all things are yes, exactly what you're saying. And that is my gift from doTERRA. That is something that whether I made a dime in doTERRA or not, I could not stop sharing the message because I know what these oils do for people in raising energy, in teaching truth, in giving people hope and light. Yeah, you're right on.
Now I'm actually gonna ask you one more clarifying question. You said that doTERRA actually helped you be more kind, and in particular, you said to be a better mother. And I actually want to ask how that is. How did doTERRA help you be a better mother? Because I think that a lot of the moms that work in doTERRA feel like they're a worse mom because they're spending time away from their kids. And that's something that a lot of times, especially if you've been blessed to be a stay-home mom, you know, for the life of your children, all of a sudden you're not there all the time with them, and there's like this inner conflict that's happening. How did doTERRA help you be a better mom?
So yeah, I can relate to every single mom out there. I've had those moments where you're sitting on your couch and you're looking at your kids feeling like, I'm missing it. Oh, what have I been doing? But then I always go back to those moments before I started engaging in a good cause, engaging my heart and life into a good cause with goals and expectations from my higher power because of what the obedience that I was giving to him. And here's the thing. How has it helped me to be a better mom? It's helped just in those, I could give you a whole list of things, but just in that one thing of being able to take control of my life. You know that before I had doTERRA, I would wake up every morning feeling like I had to prove to myself that I was a good mom. And I had to make a list of all the things that I had to accomplish because that's what my grandma did and that's what my mom did and what their grandma did and their grandma did. So I had to measure up to that in order to be a good mom. Screw that crap. I am a fantastic mother and I do not have to prove it. I am. And so I wake up every morning now saying, who do I go and serve today and bring my kids along to teach them what love and service is all about. And oh my goodness, guys, there's so much joy to be had. There's so much time. We worry so much about not being in the present moment that we forget all we have to do is choose to be in the present moment. It's not about time. Time means so much less than what we think it is. And we can sit and beat ourselves up all day about how, and have a kid come and say, Mom, are you recently telling me I've got to do this, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that? Goodness. You know, whether you're doing doTERRA or not, you have to learn how to be in the present moment. before you can
Yeah.
learn how to be a good mom.
Thank you. Janet, I appreciate what you just said, and the reason why that, as you were talking, I realized, I'm like, actually, I can tell you why this is making you a better mom right now too, as you were speaking, because it's going to stop the at least with your children, the next generation, it'll stop the feelings of victimhood. Now you're going to raise a generation of people that know that they are the captain of their own ship, which is enormous. Kristen Fox, what are your thoughts? How have you grown? What's the payment that you've received other than monetary from building a doTERRA business?
Okay, so I was going to say the victim stuff, like to stop being a victim. So I don't know if you want my comments, but
I do actually. Keep going with it because obviously that's a big deal.
I mean, the way that my life was when doTERRA found me, and that's kind of how I look at it. doTERRA had existed, and all of the prayers that I had prayed years and years and years before that was all being prepared to answer me in doTERRA. And I didn't even know that doTERRA existed. I didn't even know what essential oils were. And I was praying somehow to be able to be my best self, so that I could raise my children, and so that I could be better than I knew that I currently was. And it's something that I am constantly reminding myself of, and the habits of my mindset are much different now than when I began. And so when I start to slip back into certain moments of victimhood, I'm just like, wait a second, that's the way old me. Why am I going there? And the loop is much shorter than before. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I actually just recently had a really cool moment with my mother. She comes from her parents were alcoholics. Her sisters were just like her parents. My mom was the only one of the family that actually could see light and truth in the world. And she sought after it and was able to change her life. And she was always labeled the black sheep of the family, and I thought that was so crazy, that she was made to feel bad for doing something good. I know, it's crazy. And so my mom talks about the transition that she made in her life, and to teach her children and her family to find and to seek light and truth. And she said, Kristen, I think that you are doing the same thing. It's just in a different way, and it has a lot to do with finances, and it has to do a lot with mindset. And she talks about the life that she had beforehand and the struggle that it was to make the choices and make the decisions to change. And she lost a bunch of friends. You know, when you stop drinking and when you stop doing drugs and when you stop doing the things that a lot of people do, because you're just following the crowd, you lose stuff. And I said, so was that hard? And she said, not at all. She said, now that I'm where I am, it's not a sacrifice at all. And I said to her, so do you mean to say that the transition that I'm making in my family and the shifts that are needing to happen as my mission on this planet, I'm actually going to look back and go, there was no sacrifice at all? And she said, yes, I promise you. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, this happened like probably 4 weeks ago. And I was just floored. So I guess, okay, not playing.
No, actually, let me just say, actually, I actually want to confirm what your mom said. I agree completely. If you look at the rewards, whether eternal or temporal,
mm-hmm.
there really is no such thing as a sacrifice. It all becomes because the investment or the sacrifice is returned so greatly that you look back and go, that was such a small price. Like, for example, I remember when I was running really hard for Diamond and Blue Diamond and things like that, and I thought, this is harder than I thought it would be. But now that I'm here and I see the payment that comes with it, the rewards that have come from that, monetary and otherwise, I actually think to myself, boy, that actually should have been a lot harder. I didn't, like in the throes of it, you're going, this is so hard. But then when you actually get there, you're like, man, that should have been a lot harder than it was because the reward is so fantastic. And frankly, I think that's the way heaven's going to be too. I think we're going to get there and go, really? There's nothing I gave up that was, there's no sacrifice I made that wasn't worth this. But anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I guess with that victimhood, believing the lies that it's too hard. Like I look at scenarios and I might have like a physical reaction initially, like, oh, I don't want to do that, no, and I might fight it for a little bit, but then I'm like, hang on a second, I've done hard before. What the heck? Like, let's do it, So it's really thickened my skin in a lot of ways to help strengthen me for other battles that are necessary in the world, inside my family, inside my marriage, inside myself, and of course in doTERRA. Of course, at church, of course, I mean, in every single aspect of my life, hard is different now. Hard is totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Jacqueline Child, what are your thoughts?
So I have two different things, and I'll try to make them short since it's two, but the one thing would be I do feel like everyone's saying it makes us a better parent, but I think it's made my kids better kids. And what I mean by that is, first of all, just the power of essential oils and supplements. I look at like my kids, my son started kind of developing a little acne or whatever, and he had horrible allergies. I'm sorry, seasonal whatever discomforts. So I mean, we through like he did the 30-day cleanse, and we did all kinds. He takes the supplements every day, and he uses the foaming facial cleanser and stuff. We through that have blessed him with great health, energy, vitality. Like he notices a difference. So all of my kids, like the products have been a huge support to their bodies. The second thing is it's made them very brave. Like my kids have very different personalities. I've really been looking at a book called Just My Nature, and it talks about 4 different types. It's more than personalities, but that's kind of what it is. And as I've analyzed my kids, I've seen that their personalities are actually incredibly different. But having said that, I've noticed, and like we just spent 10 days on vacation. We went to Texas and Mexico. And I've watched my kids, and they're so brave. Like, their personalities are very, very, very different. But they have all learned, like, this bravery. I mean, to try new things and do new things and face their fears. And I feel like that's a big part of doTERRA has been a big part of that. I really, really feel strongly that that's the case. And
how do you think doTERRA has helped to develop that?
Because they've had to see us go through really difficult times and face those and just keep going. And it's more like a spiritual confirmation. There's been several times when I'll see them do things and I'm like, what in the world? Like, I would have never done that. Like, I would have never tried that. I never would have been that brave. And when I was their age or whatever, and then I'll have like this kind of spiritual confirmation that they've watched us overcome some pretty big, difficulties in doTERRA and just life in general, and that it's been incredibly good for them, and that I have felt really strongly that's the case. In fact, so this is really sad. So we went on a cruise, and with all 6 of our kids, and we were in Texas, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of the climate of Texas and stuff. But the people are just awesome. So friendly, outgoing. I mean, I just love it. I just go in and I just love it. So anyway, we were on this cruise and everybody's so friendly because most of the people on it were from Texas. And they would constantly comment on our children and act like it was this huge deal that we had these 6 kids, right? And it's funny because I look at my kids as like the hugest blessing. I just enjoy every moment with them. And I had someone ask me this was several months ago, but she said, She said, I want to tell you that you're the only mom I know that doesn't complain about her kids. And I really thought about that. And I really feel that part of the reason why I just cherish, love, and enjoy my children is because I have something besides them to spend my time on. I get little breaks. And when, like, this one lady came up to me on the cruise and she goes, she has 2 kids, like a 11-year-old and like a 5-year-old, and she goes, did all of these children come out of you? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, and she actually said these words in front of her kids and her husband, I hate my kids. I can't imagine she said that. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh. But she said the words, but everybody else, many of the people that talked to me could have said them. They might as well have. You know what I mean? It's like they might as well said the words because everything they were saying pretty much pinpointed that. It's like if we think that we're going to be a better mother because our whole life is just poured into my children. I understand. I homeschool. I spend a lot of time with my kids. But there is something to be said for getting a little break and doing something that recharges you, blesses your life, gets you into a social network, develops relationships, all of those things. And also, you know, I don't know. I just think there's really something to be said about it. You know, when we think we're being this horrible, horrible mother, I think it actually is making us a much better mother. So, perfect. And then the other thing I wanted to say, too, this is totally unrelated. Can I say it? Have I taken too much time?
No, you're great. Keep going.
Okay. So the other thing, now I know we're not talking financially, but I'm not going to refer to the financial part of it, but what I am going to refer to is the security of it. And I think a lot of people would say, what, network marketing, security? But when I started doTERRA, so just so you know, my husband and I are especially my husband, we're very much into security. Like, we do not like to take financial risks at all. And so one of the things that my husband decided was that when he retired, he was going to have like a really good nest egg for our retirement. And so we have, like, very dutifully, without hardly ever missing, have always put 10% of his income into retirement. And, you know, all the books like The Richest Man in Babylon and all these things say if you do that, you will be able to, you know, you will have this huge nest egg, right? Well, as the stock market has been so shifty and everything, we have not, like, even with how dutiful we've been at putting that away, we have not developed anything near what we need for retirement to have the kind of lifestyle that we want. And so and again, this is financial, but when you think about it, it's really not. This is also about feeling secure for the future, you know, living your higher hopes and, you know, your dreams and hopes and everything. Like, we continue to do that. We continue to put his income in there, but doTERRA has given us so much peace of mind because of the pipeline we've been able to build, because we know that we will be able to comfortably retire on, you know, because of doTERRA. And so I think that is a huge deal for people.
I agree, because the fact of the matter is that there are people that make a lot of money in other areas, but they don't have the peace of mind that accompanies residual income. And I remember when I was building our doTERRA business, and I think I was gold, maybe something like that. But what happened was I remember when our income passed a certain threshold, and it was apparent that my team was going to continue to grow. Like, we had good teams growing, everything was going. And I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could die today and my wife and kids would be taken care of outside of, you know, life insurance or things like that. And I just remember thinking, wow, I mean, and what happened was there was a weight, like it felt like a literal weight that left my shoulders that I was carrying that I did not even know I was carrying. But it was the burden that everyone has of making sure that their family is provided for. And when that actually leaves, there is a peace of mind that is fantastic, the security that you're describing. So I agree 100%. All right. Angie Archibald, I just unmuted your line. What other forms of payment have you received other than money?
It's hard to say more than what has already been said by these amazing women, and I think maybe that's the thing that comes to my mind the most is the people that I've met by doing doTERRA has been a huge payment for me. Like Janet and Kristen and Jacqueline, like these are people that whether or not I've spent 5 minutes talking to them or I've spent a whole night talking with them or spent time on the phone, like they've been impactful to me to bring my viewpoint on myself and what I'm capable of and what God wants me to do and just my value. They've just really deeply impacted me, and there's many more people that I've met through doing doTERRA that have had the same effect. So I just feel like that's a huge blessing for me. Just the circle of friends that I have is fantastic, and it makes me want to go forward from here and try to spread that to others, whether or not it's through doTERRA. Like when I meet someone now, of course I see everything through the eyes of doTERRA. We have this disease, right, where we're like, ooh, let me tell you what oils you need, and let me tell you how I can change your life. But on the other hand, if I see someone who has a dream and then I see them sort of shrug it off and think, well, we just can't do that, I want to reach into their soul, and I try to, and say, yes, you can. And who's telling you that you can't? You know, it's like I want to go forward into the world now and lift women up wherever I am and say, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And your husband will think that you're beautiful and amazing and strong for saying so and trying to do so, and you guys will figure this out or whatever. So I guess it's like a circle of friends thing, and also like it's increased my mission here on this earth to spread this goodness to other people.
Awesome. Thanks, Angie.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, what are your thoughts?
So mine just echo what Angie said in ways of relationships. Like there are people that have come into my path that I don't think, like Steph, like Rod, like, Courtney and Julianne and Janet were already in my circle of friends when I was introduced to doTERRA, but I would not have gotten to know them on the levels that I do now. But also, like what Angie said, the people that I feel like I may not have ever been able to meet them except for this, because I was one of the moms that Janet was talking about that really, I was blessed to be able to be a stay-at-home mom, and it really stretched me and took me out of my comfort zone. But the ability to travel in the beginning was so scary for me, to leave my kids, and I had so much guilt. And now I realize it's something I've always wanted to do so badly in my life, and I didn't ever have an outlet or a reason to get out of my comfort zone and go someplace different and meet incredible people. So it's been a gift to be able to travel, and also to be able to get to know the amazing and inspiring leaders that have come into my path, but also all of the people that I've been placed in their path has been one of the greatest gifts.
Thank you. Alonto, what are your thoughts?
So,
I apologize, by the way, for quickly going from person to person. I just want to make sure we have all these hands raised, and I just realized I got to keep going. So thank you for everyone who's commenting. You're doing fantastic. Go ahead, Alonto.
So the biggest payment for me is really, I look at it as the ultimate education when it comes to life and business. I mean, from the time that we started 3 years ago to like now, I would like confidently say that I've never had such education, such development in those 3 years compared to like my 30 years of like normal education, and even comparing that to a master's degree in business. So the things that I've learned has been so invaluable and so life-changing that I now know who I am. I know my purpose, and I have a vehicle to be able to live that out. So when I look at doTERRA, or when I look at doTERRA or network marketing as an entire profession, all I have now is, okay, how can I provide more and more value? How can I develop currency, right? Currency in a sense where I have the trust, and I have that value that I provide to others. And the more of those I can provide to others, the more people that I can help, then the more money I actually get paid. So I love this topic of, okay, what are the things that you're gaining as far as outside the money aspect, but really it is the things that you're doing personally, developing in your communication skills, developing in you as a person, that really attracts the money that comes with it. So it's not like this is separate from the income side. It's tied together. It's parallel. Because I don't know anyone in this organization that has achieved high levels of success when it comes to monetary that hasn't done a lot of work internally, a lot of development internally to become the best version of themselves.
Yep. Agreed. I mean, and that's kind of why I wanted to go down this road of the topic, because I think that sometimes when people are building their doTERRA business, if they never take time to count the value of the type of lessons that they're learning, and it's almost like you can't even put a monetary value on those lessons and the type of person that you become. And so if you never actually count that, then it's very easy to get discouraged and say, you know what, I'm done. This hasn't given me the financial blessings that I wanted it to in the time I wanted it to, and yet we're not even taking into consideration the type of growth that you are experiencing as a person. Let me just share what I mean by this in regards to, I've done one other network marketing company back when I was 20-something, 22, 23, 4, something like that. But I did Amway back in 1998. It was quite a while ago. And when I did that, I look back at that experience, and I worked my butt off, and I learned all these. Unfortunately, frankly, I hitched my wagon to a team of horses that was not going anywhere. I mean, that opportunity is nothing compared to doTERRA. And so what ended up happening is I look back at that and I think, man, that I learned so much from that. I tried so hard and never did, retire on the beaches of the world like they were all saying I would. But what happened was I became something better as a result of that. And I look back at those couple of years that I tried my hardest with that, and I actually have fond memories because of everything that's been talked about so far, all the lessons that had to be learned. For example, one time they said, go talk, they said, recruit up, find people who are better than you. And so, and go and try to, approach them. Well, I thought, okay. And there was this person that in my community that was the wealthiest person I knew personally. Big, huge home. I drove my little Subaru up to their house to go and pitch them the Amway opportunity. This is a guy that's a multimillionaire already. And I sat in my car just petrified, thinking I have no idea what am I going to say? What's he going to say? And then the thought came to me. It just distilled on me. And it was, what's the worst that can happen? And what is the worst? And I realized the only thing that could happen is that he could tell me no. That's it. That's the worst that could happen. And he might think I'm an idiot, or he might think I'm stupid for doing it or whatever, but that's the worst that could happen. And then I thought, but he's a no already. So the worst thing that can happen is already the reality. So the only thing I have to lose is potentially his opinion of me or something like that. So I went up to the house, knocked on the door, and was told that he wasn't interested. But I walked away. I look at that moment as a crucial moment in my entire life, a lesson that I had to learn, and I'm glad I learned it in my 20s because it served me the rest of my life. Mary Sisti, what are your thoughts?
Okay. So this has changed my whole entire life, and here's why. So in the beginning, I had no idea really what the ride I was on. I just loved the oils. But once I became a leader, I started to step into that role. I immediately saw the changes in even how I communicate to people. So it's developed my communication skills. It's allowed me to gain clarity on not just my goals in my life, but also just in the verbiage of how I talk to people. I used to word vomit. I used to tell people that, like word vomiting all over people. And instead of word vomiting, I've learned to listen to other people, developing my listening skills. And that's all about communication and being comfortable with talking to strangers. We all kind of live in our little bubbles sometimes, and it's safer to not be judged and to just sit in your spot of being comfortable in your bubble and talking to just the people who you've surrounded yourself with for all your life. But actually, I found myself being more blessed in my life when I step outside of that and learn to talk to others. So that's one thing. And then being goal-oriented. I didn't realize there was life and goals outside of my nursing degree. I was born and raised into the blue collar family where we worked really hard to get a job, and then that was it. That was like what was meant for our life. And now I realize that was just the beginning. It just college was important for me because it developed skills and relationships. However, I feel like I just went back to college. I'm still kind of learning, and I realize that I'm never going to stop learning. It's never going to be a cap because you're going to be overcoming fears all throughout the steps in doTERRA. So I think that was awesome. And so instead of avoiding my fears, because I hated confrontation. Who likes confrontation, right? But actually, sometimes confrontation is necessary, and that's important in order to grow. So overcoming my fears and identifying them and facing them in order to develop myself, actually. Also, avoiding conflict versus embracing conflict. I'm embracing that now. And with my communication skills, I realize I can become defensive when facing that. And so I realized, okay, this is what I do, and it's not effective. So we kind of have to change our verbiage in order to love that person and overcome the conflict. And then also, lastly, which is the most important part, is taking responsibility with my own life. And once I realized that I'm 100% responsible for everything, it's so important to do that. It's so important to understand that because you stop blaming others and situations for where you are in your life. So I hope that you guys embrace that, what I say, because that was a huge game changer for me. And it increased my confidence in myself. It allowed me to become a great and powerful leader. Once I realized that, I stepped into that role. It made me become a better mom, a better nurse even, a friend, and a partner with my boyfriend. It allowed me the communication skills. It allowed me to be patient with others. And knowing that I am valuable, going back to what Alonso said,
it filled my cup. You know, knowing my self-worth made me become thankful in my life, more grateful, spiritual, a lot less jaded with others, because my focus wasn't on myself. It was really trying to understand others, where they're at. It's on improving others, and so as a result of that, my cup is more full and my heart is more fulfilled in the long run.
Yep. I love what you're saying, Mary. And in particular, one of the things that you said was this idea of not being so afraid of conflict, because otherwise you just avoid it altogether. And then also knowing how to deal with conflict, like in a productive way. Let me give you an example. Recently, I had a company that called me up, and they were trying to hire me for a job recently, and they threw a lot of money, and I just said no. I said no, but if you want, I can come in and do some consulting for you, just to kind of help you through this problem that they're facing. And so it's kind of funny because they're paying me hundreds of dollars per hour. and the only reason I say that is because when I just look back at that and think it's just kind of funny that it's because, like, let me tell you why. I sat down in a room. There's a whole bunch of people in this room around this boardroom table. All of them are very successful business people. And the way they introduced me is they said, they were introducing everyone around the table, and they said, that's Seth Rizame. He's retired. He's what all of us want to be. That's why he's here. And then they went around the room, and anyway, and so I just was there consulting them. Well, here's the interesting thing. They get into these arguments. Like, there's different people that kind of like, they get into all these different arguments, and I saw all of the things that came up, and I just sat there watching, going, I remember when I used to do that. I remember being pissed all the time. I remember getting angry over things. I remember caring what the other, about who got credit for what. I remember all of these different things, and I go, you know what, doTERRA has driven all of that out of me. It has no sway in me anymore. And it was just really fascinating to contemplate, like, how, I mean, these are the payments. This is the payment that you get outside of the financial payment that doTERRA provides. And when Rod hit diamond, I remember I went to a celebration party that Kelly Anderson, his upline, threw for him. And one of the things that she said in that meeting is that she goes, we're really glad that Rod and Jennifer reached diamond. And then she said, but we've thought of Rod as a diamond the entire time, and his rank was just simply catching up to him. And the reason I say this is because all of us have to embrace this idea of the other types of payment that we get, this personal development, because it's very rare that we hit a rank that we are not personally. Like, you can have someone force you to a rank. Maybe you have an upline that makes you be silver, or maybe you have an upline that makes you be whatever rank that you are. And then you're trying to personally develop to where you're the type of leader that matches the rank. But most of the time what happens is that you personally start acting and behaving like that rank, and then the rank catches up to you because it just has to. David Young, what are your thoughts? David, you're unmuted on my end. You may not be unmuted on yours, but go ahead. All right. Stephanie Green, I just unmuted your line. Go ahead.
Oh, man.
Hold on. David, I got you. You're good. Go ahead and go, and then Stephanie after that.
You want me to talk now?
Yeah, go ahead, David.
My grandfather and my father used to have a saying that a stranger is a friend I haven't yet met. And I've tried to live up to that. But as a kid growing up and into my adulthood, I experienced a lot of bad things, and I struggled with a lot of things. And my first convention last year taught me a lot about myself. And my upline She's a wonderful lady. Marilyn is her name, and she's taught me so much. And she's taught me to learn to be stronger, to hold my head up, and I'm learning to be far more compassionate towards other people than I ever used to be before. And I love to speak with new people each and every day and to try to share with them the love and the compassion that I have for the oils and what they've done for me and my family. And I've become closer to my youngest daughter, who's I got her signed up, and working together. And so it's teaching me to be a better father towards her as well. And the greatest thing that, it's just, I can walk away, even if I only make $10 a day, I know in my heart that I become a better, stronger, healthier person that can walk uprightly with a smile on my face and know that everyone I come in contact will say, there's something different about that guy, and we need to know why and what for. And I have had a lot of friends notice the change in my life in the last few years, which is a very amazing thought and a very amazing thing to me. So that's pretty much what I have to share.
Thank you. That's awesome. Because you know what? Those small, and they're not even small, those huge skills that you just learned, that you described right there, will make you more money than you can possibly imagine. Those are like the foundation. Just being able to walk, stand tall, be kind, smile, those types of things, they'll take you so much further, and they're the foundation of a lot of things. Thank you. Stephanie, what's up?
Hi. Okay, so some of the thoughts that came into my head as you've been talking, Seth, is you started out kind of asking the question, what are some reasons to do doTERRA besides the money? And for me, it's simply because God told me to do it. He told me to do it, and so I'm doing it. And some of the things that I have learned in this journey is particularly this topic that you've already been touching on a little bit about being a mom and doing doTERRA at the same time. I like a lot of the women on this call, I've struggled immensely with that. And one of the things that I have learned through the journey with doTERRA, and because God taught it to me, is that we as women have power, and we as women have influence, and we need to be out influencing the world. We have to stop hiding inside our homes under the excuse of, I'm a good mom if I never leave. And we have to get out and we have to influence the world. When I served a mission for our church, and we had a meeting one time where one of the leaders came to visit our mission. One of our, head leaders from our church came to visit our mission, and we had all of us missionaries in the room, and he did a question and answer session. And one of the other women that was in the room stood up and she asked him. She said, I'm in a congregation that's really small, and I've been asked to take over the children's organization, and I've been asked to help with the women's organization, and I'm still, serving my mission full time. How do I do it all? And I'll never forget what that man said. He looked her in the eyes and he said, you just do it because God told you to. And so, this is a topic I'm very, very passionate about because I feel like doTERRA has everybody's already talked about the power doTERRA has to make us into incredibly influential people. Well, we are doing no one any good hiding behind our front door saying, I'm a good mom, or I'm doing better for my family if I never leave, if I never get out and I never teach a class, or I never build this business because it's going to take me away from our family. We got to stop it because we have a responsibility to influence the world for good, and we need to do it. Anyway, that's my soapbox.
Thanks, Stephanie. Fantastic thoughts. Tiana Beatty, go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much for letting me speak today, because I don't even want to imagine where I would be without doTERRA today. It has impacted every single aspect of my life. I come from an abusive family history with lots of different types of abuse, and it was really awful to go through, and has impacted me physically and emotionally and mentally and spiritually. It's impacted my marriage. And when I was diagnosed with an awful autoimmune disease a number of years ago, I didn't know where else to turn. And so using the essential oils to combat that changed the course of my life in ways that I didn't even know were possible. it has helped me to recognize that I can speak in my own truth, and not everyone has to agree with me, and that's okay. And that doesn't mean if someone disagrees with me that I'm a bad person. And so there was things in my marriage that would happen where I would feel like something was wrong with me because me and my husband didn't agree on something. And that isn't the case at all. And so and then the people, like everything that everyone has said up to this point, I echo completely, because the people, the relationships, how I have been able to begin to step into my own person and be okay being autonomous and individual and unique, and let my talents shine without feeling guilty for dimming someone else's light, because of who I am as a person. And so thank you so much, Seth, for having this call be the way that it is, because I think I can speak for a lot of people on here that this call has been super inspirational, and I'm trying really hard not to just break down in tears, because doTERRA is amazing and the people are amazing, and I don't think you can find this class of people anywhere else in the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Deanna. Well, our time is up, and I have about, a dozen other people with their hands raised. I'm sorry I couldn't get to everybody. Let me just end by saying that if you truly embrace this journey and accept it as a journey, and that every part of it has a purpose, and that even where you're at right now has a purpose. If you aren't happy with where you're at, there's a reason. And as Rod has taught me, if you want an answer, then ask the question. So I would encourage you to take time to reflect on the journey that you've been on since you've started this whole thing, and what you have become as a result of the journey, and where you would be or wouldn't be if you didn't embark on this journey, and start to count the value outside of the checks that show up or don't show up in your mailbox. Who have you become in the process, and is it worth it? Secondly, you've heard over and over again, the people, I noticed that a lot of the diamonds that commented on this, they said that one of the key lessons they learned was the ability to take total accountability for where they are in their life. If you look at where you are, and when you take absolute accountability for it, you have what you have because you did what you did. You don't have what you don't have because you didn't do what you didn't do, right? It's the same. You are a product of your choices, and unless you can take complete ownership of that, then you will always struggle in every other area of life that you're trying to get to. But doTERRA forces you to face that. And I think that that's a lesson that we've heard people talk about throughout the entire thing. I think it's worth noting that I've heard people say on the call today that they would not be married, that their marriage wouldn't have lasted if they didn't. What kind of value does that have? I think it's valuable to hear the people that have broken generational patterns of victimhood, that pattern is no longer going to last with their children because they've learned how to be successful. I also just want to point out some things that maybe weren't said outright, but were said. What happens when your family sees you set and accomplish and reach goals? What does that do? What lessons do they learn? What did they learn from watching you set and accomplish a goal? And to go through it and want to quit, and maybe even quit and start over again and then continue on until you did reach it. I know many people who have reached Diamond on my team who wanted to quit and even temporarily did quit, but then got up and kept going. What did their kids learn from that? I mean, there's so many things. You just kind of look at this and go, I can't put a price tag on the personal development that has come to me as a result of doing it. Even like what David said earlier, even just the ability to walk upright, to be kind, have a smile on your face, and be approachable. How about this? The ability to sit on a call and listen to what people have to say and be humble enough to learn from them. that's a lesson that's worth, I mean, just the ability to say, or how about the ability to be empathetic or to be empathetic to people who aren't like you. Anyway, I guess my point is that there are so many lessons that come from this that it's difficult to say that none of this is worth it. I think about the people on my team and the people that they are becoming and the people that they've become and who I'm becoming in the process. And I can say that that there is no sacrifice at all. That it's perceived as a sacrifice. You see it as that. It feels like a great sacrifice. But in the end, the reward is so great, you will not think that it was a sacrifice at all. It's my prayer that you'll continue on this path and not give up. And we'll see you everybody next week.